Hello everyone. My name is Eulalia, and I am 78 years old. One thing I know for certain is that time is a master that never asks for permission, but imparts lessons no book can teach. Every wrinkle on my face tells a story, and every strand of white hair has a reason for being there. Youth passes quickly, like a blink of an eye, and no matter how much we think we know, the reality is that only time grants us true understanding. I vividly recall my younger days, believing the world was filled with endless opportunities, where every choice appeared to be the right one. But as time progressed, it revealed the true paths and the significance of listening to the wisdom of others. In our youth, we rush to conquer the world, trying to do everything at once, without realizing that this haste often leads to our biggest mistakes. I can remember many impulsive decisions that could have turned out differently if I had paused to heed the advice of someone more experienced. But youth brings with it an illusion, the belief that we can do it all and know everything. It was this pride that led me to many failures that ultimately taught me more than any early success. Over time, I learned that true wisdom doesn't come from quick answers or absolute certainties, but from the ability to learn from each mistake. Have you ever stopped to think about how many times you ignored the advice of someone older because you believed you knew better? Time teaches in a subtle way. It doesn't shout or force, but gradually shows us the consequences of our choices. Life has shown me that every stumble, every hardship serves a purpose. These invisible scars are marks of a life lived fully, one that wasn't free from pain, but knew how to draw lessons from each struggle. And these lessons, dear listener, are what I want to share today. At 78, I can look back and see how much I've learned, but I also see how often I acted hastily, which helped me understand the value of listening more and talking less. Have you heard the saying that we have 2 ears and 1 mouth so we can listen twice as much as we speak? This has never made more sense to me than it does now. The wisdom I've gained over the years has taught me that the greatest treasure we can possess is experience, and experience only comes with time. There's no point in rushing or trying to skip steps. Life has its own pace, and every moment, every situation, is there to teach us something valuable. When we're young, we crave quick answers and immediate results, but age teaches us patience and helps us realize that what truly matters isn't how fast you reach your destination, but the lessons you pick up along the way. So if I could offer one piece of advice to anyone listening, it would be this: don't rush. Learn to appreciate the present moment and listen to those who've walked this path before you. The answers you're searching for might be hidden in the words of someone who has lived longer than you can imagine. I've always heard that life is made up of encounters, and at 78, I can say with confidence that relationships are the foundation of our existence. When we're young, we think the world revolves around us, that we control everything. But as time goes by, we realize that we're like boats sailing through a sea of people, and it's our friends, loves, and family who truly guide our journey. Oh, how long it took me to understand that. Looking back, I see how often I shut myself off from advice, ignoring the wise words of those who tried to guide me, thinking I knew better. Today, I know that each encounter, every friendship, and even the loves that have come and gone have left deep marks and shaped who I am. Antonio, an old friend, once said something I've never forgotten: Eulalia, it's not about how many people you know, but about how many you really listen to. At the time, I didn't grasp what he meant. I was surrounded by people, always in a rush to tell my story, share my ideas, and make my voice heard. I thought my opinion was the most important, that my truths were absolute. How many times did I fail to listen to those who genuinely wanted to help me, who had already faced the same challenges I was encountering? It's funny how, in our youth, we believe we're invincible, that no one else understands what we're going through. But the truth is, previous generations have already experienced much of what we face now, and learning to listen to their voices, their experiences, can make all the difference. Relationships, especially friendships, teach us about empathy. When we're young, we're so focused on our own goals that we often forget to look around and understand what others are going through. Life, however, is a grand exchange. Over time, I've learned that the greatest lessons come in moments of silence, when we stop to truly listen to others. These lessons don't come from books or social media, but from the stories people carry within them. Often, the answers to our doubts lie in the experiences of others, but to hear them, we must learn to quiet our own voice a little. I remember once, in my youth, when I was going through a difficult phase in my marriage, feeling lost and frustrated. Instead of seeking advice from those who had already been through it, I distanced myself, thinking no one would understand. It was during this time that Donna Irama, an elderly neighbor, called me over for a chat. She had endured a long marriage filled with challenges. That day she told me something I've never forgotten, Eulalia. Every relationship requires sacrifice. Sometimes you give in, sometimes the other person does, but in the end, what matters is that both are willing to fight together. At the time, her words didn't fully resonate with me. I was so wrapped up in my own emotions that I couldn't grasp the depth of her words. Years later, when the same issues resurfaced, her advice came back to me, and only then did I recognize the wisdom in her life experience. Today I realize that the relationships that shape us the most are those that challenge our beliefs, make us reconsider our assumptions, and most importantly, teach us the value of patience and understanding. Youth tends to be impatient, always wanting quick results and immediate answers, but just like wisdom, relationships need time to grow. One thing I've learned over the years is that what often keeps us from learning from others is our own ego, the belief that we don't need help and can handle everything on our own. If I could offer any advice to younger people, it would be to never underestimate the power of a good conversation. Listen to your elders, your friends, and even those with whom you disagree, because in the end, it's those moments of sharing, those simple pieces of advice that seem insignificant at the time, that often become the greatest lessons in life. Wisdom is never gained in isolation. It is molded by the stories we exchange and the people we surround ourselves with. Now that I'm 78, looking back, I see that the legacy we leave behind is not just about the advice we give or the material things we pass on. It's far more than that. Our essence, our experiences, and even how we live, love, and find joy all become part of the legacy we leave. Many people, especially after turning 50, fall into the trap of thinking that certain aspects of life, like sexuality, should be left behind, as if they no longer matter. But nothing could be further from the truth. The legacy we leave also includes how we view our own sexuality, and it's vital to teach the next generations that intimacy and pleasure don't have an expiration date. Just as I've learned to cherish relationships throughout my life, I've also come to understand that physical and emotional connections with others remain important, even as the years go by. It's not just the practical advice we offer young people about work or life's challenges, but also the way we show them that, even with an aging body, the spirit and desire remain vibrant. When we speak of leaving a legacy, we're talking about inspiring the next generations to live fully, without fearing aging or stopping the pursuit of pleasure and happiness. One of the biggest mistakes people make is thinking that aging requires us to let certain parts of life fade away or be forgotten. But I've learned that the greatest gift we can offer the younger generation is the example of a life lived fully, and this certainly includes how we approach sex and intimacy in our later years. Why should we stop living fully just because society says we're past our prime? The legacy I want to leave is this: it's never too late to allow yourself to experience life, to seek pleasure, to deeply connect with someone, and to enjoy all the wonderful things life has to offer. When people talk about what we shouldn't do after 50, it's clear that, just like in relationships, we shouldn't give in to the stereotypes or restrictions placed upon us. Sexuality doesn't vanish with age, it evolves, it takes on new forms, but it remains a fundamental part of who we are. And without a doubt, this too is part of the legacy we leave. What I hope for is that today's young people, and the adults of tomorrow, look at us, the elderly, and realize there is still so much life left to live. I want them to understand that pleasure, touch, and intimacy are not exclusive to youth, but are instead a continuous, natural part of life. So, what I leave behind is not just a collection of life experiences, but also the message that living fully in every aspect of life should be embraced, until the very end, whether you're 50, 60, or 70. Sex is not something to be dismissed or ignored. On the contrary, it can be a source of joy, self-discovery, and connection. This is what I want the future generations to understand: to live, to love, to feel, never grows old. May this be the true legacy. Another important point: communication is more essential now than ever. If there's one thing we should never stop doing, it's talking about our feelings, insecurities, and desires. Yes, the body changes, but that doesn't mean our desires fade away. Communication is the key to a fulfilling intimate life, and many couples lose their way simply because they stop talking about it. Sometimes it's due to embarrassment, fear of judgment, or believing it's no longer a topic they need to discuss. What I've learned over time is that silence is a dangerous enemy in relationships. So, never stop discussing what you enjoy, what bothers you, and above all, what gives you pleasure. Don't underestimate the power of open dialogue. When it comes to sex after 50, the most important thing not to do is ignore your body's signals. Many people fail to realize that sexual health requires more attention as we age. Hormonal changes, vaginal dryness, and erectile dysfunction are common issues that might arise, but they have solutions. Overlooking these changes is a mistake. If something isn't working the way it used to, seek help, talk to a doctor. There are countless options available today to make intimacy more comfortable and enjoyable. Don't let physical discomfort prevent you from continuing to enjoy your intimate life. Sometimes, a simple consultation can completely change how you experience intimacy at this stage of life. And perhaps the greatest mistake of all is not allowing yourself to enjoy pleasure because of what others might think. There is a significant taboo surrounding sexuality in older age, as if it is something shameful or something that should be hidden or avoided. This idea is completely false. Pleasure is an essential part of who we are, and it doesn't have an age limit. Don't let the fear of other people's opinions dictate your choices. Just because society imposes certain boundaries doesn't mean you have to follow them. Whether you're 50, 60, 70, or even older, sex can still be a source of joy, connection, and closeness. So what we shouldn't do is deny ourselves this vital aspect of who we are. Sex after 50 doesn't need to be a source of anxiety or disappointment. The real mistake would be to hold yourself back, cling to outdated ideas, or stop seeking joy because you think you've passed a certain age. There's always time to explore new ways to connect with others and with yourself. Life continues, and pleasure remains a key part of it, no matter your age. One thing life has taught me is that every experience we go through, every relationship we form, and even how we express intimacy becomes part of the legacy we leave behind. Aging isn't the end, it's a fresh beginning filled with new discoveries and moments that can be just as meaningful and powerful as those we experienced in youth. When we understand that love and pleasure have no expiration date, we begin to live more fully, more in tune with our true selves. Now, I'd love to hear from you. How do you picture your life in 10, 20, or 30 years? Have you ever paused to reflect on how you're shaping your legacy right now? Share your thoughts in the comments, and let me know where you're writing from. I'm curious to see how far these reflections are reaching. Your experiences are important, and the more we share, the more we grow together. If you enjoyed this content, please remember to give it a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future videos. It really helps, and it allows me to keep bringing you important reflections like this one. And of course, share this video with your friends, family, or anyone you think needs to hear this message. Now, there's a video popping up on your screen that I've made especially for you. In it, I'll share some amazing tips to help you keep building the best version of yourself at any age. Click on it now, and let's continue this journey together.